So we're starting a separation from the highest point of the head to behind the ears. The way you can find the highest point of the head is you can take your comb, rest on the top of the head, rock it back and forth. Where it teeters is the area that is the highest point of the head. So that means all the hair is going to fall in a natural direction around that. The next thing that we're going to do is separate the back. But I want to explain to you first a little bit about what I'm going to be doing. This is a haircut that is going to, really it could be a chin length bob, it could be the longest hair possible, but one of the biggest questions that we get in the salon all the time is, I want something new, but I don't want to lose length, and I don't want to fringe, and I don't want a lot of layers. So I'm going to solve all those problems with you today. We're going to be able to give that change. With people that have very bulky hair and their hair sits like a triangle like this technique is going to be able to bring it in so it's a little bit more slender. We're going to be able to get a little bit more lift and give layers the right way that's going to create a softness throughout the hairstyle so it doesn't look like there's layers. They're more visible layers that are going to give it a little bit of lift. As well as we're going to create an incredibly soft curtain fringe that's starting at the nose and just softening to open up the cheekbones a little bit, but is very non-committal. That's important because a lot of people don't want to commit right away. When someone's asking for a fringe, I'll always say, let's start here, and if you want to go a little bit more aggressive, come back to me in a week or two, and I'll do it for free, as we all should offer free bang trims if they got a haircut from us. So we're going to start the back. So I'm going to section her from the top of the ear across to the top of the ear. And I'm not worried about this being too perfect. I'm going to just use my clip and I go right across. And I'm going to section this up out of the way. So now we have a horizontal section across from ear to ear, and we have all this weight. The way we comb our sections is the most important thing. I'm going to drop this light a bit so you can see this a bit more. There we go. Okay. So this is something that's very important. In the middle, I want to remove the bulk, but I want it to be very soft. This also helps if you have a client that maybe has blonde hair and it's very damaged and you need to soften those ends, but you don't want to take a lot of texture. Or like I have 4 sisters. Their ponytails are this big. For them, they never style their own hair. They let it dry naturally all the time. So for that type of a client, you can go incredibly aggressive with this technique. The only thing I say to not do is don't go shorter than 2 inches away from the scalp, because that will stick out. And as you get higher in the head, you want to leave the short section a little bit longer. But you don't want to cut off the length. So I've already created a baseline because I didn't want to bore you guys with that. And so you know what I'm doing today. I'm creating a soft layered haircut. I'm also going to show you how to blow dry and set this style into place with the Dyson Supersonic, as well with the Dyson Curl Straightener. We're going to give you a simple, effective, cool girl wave that's going to take you like 3 minutes to do in the salon, and every single client's going to love that super effortless, natural look. Okay? Also, Dyson has partnered with Hairbrained to create essential styling videos that you can see on hblive.me, so go check those out. So, I want to show you guys what I'm doing. I want to comb this all very easily, and I lift it up. You see that short section right there that fell out? That is the length. I need to not cut into that, or I'm going to cut the length. So, I want to create a little bit of texture, so I'm going to open my scissors. And I'm not going to fully cut them. I'm just going to be vibrating my scissors. So I'm not slide cutting, so I don't run the risk of potentially shaving off or destroying the cuticle. I'm making clean cuts, slightly vibrating my scissors, okay? So sometimes if your scissors are longer, you might need to hold it and go off to the side like this a little bit. But I'm going to try to go in from here. So you see now, the length has now dropped down. And now I'm slightly vibrating my scissors, lifting as I go all the way, and at the end I end like I'm almost going towards the ceiling, perpendicular to the floor. So now I want you guys to watch this. I have the fullness here at the bottom, but when I lift this out, she has layers and movement. And what this is going to do is when you want to wear your hair natural, These shorter pieces are gonna want to curl a little bit more than the longer pieces because they're lighter. So what it's gonna do is it's gonna grab those longer pieces and lift them up and give them a bit of elevation and more curl. So you're also enhancing the curl. If you see, I'm cutting on dry hair. I'm cutting on a texture. I let her air dry last night. A lot of my clients come in with air dried hair. I love to cut their hair like that. I don't straighten it before, I don't blow dry it, because essentially this is how my client is gonna wear her hair almost every single day. So as I'm going, I'm seeing what's happening as well as I'm able to show her in the mirror exactly what's happening as we go. So I'm able to show her, look as I'm moving, the triangle is starting to be cut off. We're not having that bulk at the bottoms. And it's also a little bit scary, guys, because you see how much length came off? If a client is like, I don't want to remove any length, and she sees that leave, she's going to have a little bit of a panic attack. So I always will show her exactly what has happened, okay? So now this is what's very important. These outside corners. If I did the same thing as I did in the middle, it's going to remove this corner and create a gap right here, correct? Yes, someone asked, can I do this on any type of curly hair? Absolutely. I probably wouldn't do it like in the 4A to 4C type of hair, but anything up to that, my sisters, as I said, have ponytails this big, and I do it from almost an inch away from the scalp because they need that bulk gone. And thinning scissors makes their ends too kind of crispy, and it doesn't have like a thickness of a curl. So this is why I generally don't use thinning scissors. I want you guys to watch what I'm doing here. If I come from the outside with my comb and pull it in, and then I remove this length on the top, what's gonna happen? I'm now gonna be left with a short piece and a hole right at their ear. So watch what I do with the comb. I keep the comb parallel to the section. I move it in a C shape towards me. So now what's gonna happen is if I wanna be safe, I can pull this corner out, and I want to watch where in the hair this comes from. See how it comes from the back. So I know I'm protecting this. So I push this down and towards me. So now the corner is in the back. And now if I remove this corner, which is the weight of the hair, I'm now bringing it back, and I've protected that entire corner, but on the top, I have this beautiful texture. I'm always standing on this side. Body position is very important. So now it's a little bit different on this side. I can't do the same technique because I'm gonna leave this corner susceptible. So I reach around and I do the same technique, just the opposite direction. See, I'm pushing it down and in the back of my comb. I lift it up, and now this is the weight that's sitting on top, and I vibrate my scissors vertically. I drop it down, and now we can see we have this texture, and I want you to look at the side. You see how now this is starting to come in rather than sitting square out, but I still have a full base. So people ask, how do you change it with your thick or thin hair? You can do multiple sections all the way up, or you just do 3 sections. Sometimes if it's very thick hair and I need to remove a lot of weight, I'll do about 5, 6 sections exactly like this. The only important thing is on the corners, we really need to protect those corners by that combing technique. And you're gonna see it a few more times. I'm gonna start moving a little quicker. So I'm gonna grab the center. People ask, how do you know what's the previous section? The previous section is not a guide, it's completely on its own. So look at, if I lift the comb, previous section falls out. I don't have to worry about that. This is an entire new section. This is the length at the bottom. This is the weight that sits on top. So I comb it, I lift it up. I want to protect this on the bottom, but I cut vibrating my scissors vertically. Now this length falls over top, so it's still adding fullness at the bottom, but it's creating and getting rid of that triangle. I'm working on the sides again. For this side, I wrap my arm around the head. I'm pushing that corner of the ear to the back of my comb. I lift it up and I remove that corner. You can snip it off completely or vibrate your scissors, but I don't suggest shaving it off because most of the time this is done on curly hair. And on curly hair, we want to make clean cuts, because clean cuts are going to allow the ends to not fray, and their hair is going to react a lot better when they're wearing it naturally. On this corner, to protect this corner, comb is horizontal, parallel to the section. I push that corner in the back of my comb so that it's at the bottom. I'm not going to be cutting any of that. I lift it up and I'm vibrating my scissors vertically to the ceiling to remove that corner, but the length still falls to the bottom. Every time we do a section on the way up, we want that bottom length to sit over top. What it's also doing is it's hiding that shorter piece, so we never see those shorter pieces. That's why on very thick hair, someone that doesn't style their hair regularly with tools, we can do this. If someone's diffusing their hair, letting it dry naturally all the time, you generally don't have to worry how short those short pieces get until this section on the top. This one, we always want to leave them a little bit longer so it comes over top. Again, I take the middle section to start. And if we watch, the previous section now falls out, so we never have to worry. This is why it's a very easy haircut to recreate, because we can always find those sections. Most of the time when I do this on a new client, I need to prep them. I need to say, listen, you're gonna see large amounts of hair hit the floor. That's okay. We're not removing length, and I promise them we're not removing length, because we know if we take an inch and we said we were gonna take half an inch off, we're gonna lose a client. And there's no reason a hairdresser should be losing a client just because you couldn't tell what a measurement was. So again, we go up here. This is the length. So this is gonna hit the bottom, but I wanna remove the weight on the top. Also, if someone has very fine hair, this might not be about removing weight. I might take that same section, and just because I want to make sure all the ends are hit and I make sure that that thin, blonde, fried hair has all fresh ends, I might just go and just dust a little bit and do multiple sections up. So I'm doing the same technique, but I'm taking more or less weight off. It changes. Trust me, I do this haircut on a bob that's this length. I do this technique on hair that's down to the waist, and any in between. I almost do this technique on every single client. So again, I'm here. I push that corner of the ear in and I have it up. This is my length, this is the weight, and I remove it. When I come over to this side, remember, if I grab this section like this hair is at the top. So I'm going to create a hole here. So I need to make sure that I'm pushing this down, twisting in a C motion with my comb. I lift it up. This is the length, that is the texture that I'm creating, okay? So now we can see, we have a full length. It still looks full, not too textured, but it's not sitting out like a triangle. We've now compressed this in a little bit, so for people that are wearing their hair natural, it's not gonna sit like a wiggy triangle on their head. Now when I get to the top, I'm gonna treat the top like a pizza. One slice of pizza on each side and one slice of pizza on the middle. So first, I grab that middle slice of pizza and I'm gonna tilt the camera up just a little bit. And I just wanna take this hair up and I wanna create a very little softness. So I wanna cut almost straight to the ceiling. The more of an angle that I go away from the face like this, the more heavy layers we're going to see, and we're gonna have to texturize them after. I wanna cut the step of having to texturize after, and to give her that little bit of lift. A lot of women are afraid of layers, and normally it's because horizontal layers have been cut, or layers have been chopped off at this angle, which creates a heaviness, and then you have to overly texturize. I prefer to cut soft, and then I add hardness later. So, I bring this straight up. Now I bring it towards the head a little bit and I vibrate straight up to the ceiling. So now that's gonna sit over top with a softness, and you can't see a single layer, but I've created a lightness so that she's going to be able to get that beautiful volume on the top. Again, I take the other slice of pizza that's on the other side, And I'm going to adjust her just a little bit. I lift it, and I vibrate my scissors directly to the ceiling using that first point bite of the pizza on that side. We're gonna move her around here, and again, I bring it over, and you can see just those little pieces are coming. It's not a lot. I'm telling you, when I built my clientele at the start of my career, the reason I was successful is because I was honest with what an inch was. I had a lot of women that were very neurotic about their blondes, very neurotic about their length, and I was honest with them. And I created softness, and I gained the trust of these women that was able to be the thing that I built my entire clientele over very trusting women. So now we're gonna move to the sides. The sides is way more important to use. Someone asked, did I cut the bottom at the beginning? Absolutely. I cut a straight line all the way across because to me, it doesn't matter what length you start with. I will always cut the baseline first, but really, we all know how to cut a baseline. Cut the baseline however you want to cut the baseline, and it's going to be amazing. But watching a baseline being cut, real boring. So, I'm now going to do 2 separations on the side, and I'm angling this down slightly, okay? So you see what I have here. I'm going to do the exact same thing I've been doing at the back. However, this is very important that you comb the side properly, because watch what happens. If I comb it like this, and I cut this corner off, and I drop this down, she's going to have that like vintage 90s Jennifer Aniston super carve out in the front, which is not what a lot of women are asking for right now, right? It's kind of what women are scared of layers because they think the hairdresser is going to do that. So we want to make sure that we're very cautious with how we comb this section. So what I'm gonna do is I have it on an angle. So this is making sure that this area up here is where I'm gonna be removing the weight. But combing is also important. So you see, I take the comb parallel to the section and I'm pushing this front area of the hairline to the back of the section. So I'm doing 2 things. I'm protecting my length and I'm also protecting around the face. So I bring this up. You see, I just have that little kind of bit there, and I'm removing that. But I bring it down, it's fully long at the front. I haven't removed any of that, but I've removed this stuff beside the ear. So you see, I've removed this stuff, which is now making it come in straight, rather than letting it sit out like a triangle. So it's gonna dry a lot easier when she wears her hair natural. And I'm gonna split the rest into 2, and do the exact type of section. So we're protecting the face. So remember, if I comb it like this, I'm removing the length and I'm creating layers. I don't want to do that. I want to cut into this area. So parallel to the section, push the front of the hair into the back. I know that this is my length. This is the weight that sits on top of it. And I'm hiding it straight up and I vibrate my scissors up. I protected my length. It falls over top, hides the previous short section, and you see it's now sitting nice and straight and textured. I'm going to take this last section and all I'm going to do is use the guide for my previous pizza. And I don't want to affect the front. I just want to create that little crown of volume on the top. This is my previous section, and I cut straight up. So realistically, if we held this head upside down after, we're gonna kind of see a cone out of the middle. That's because we're just creating that little bit of surface volume all around the top. So now we're gonna move on to the other side and quickly get this done so we can move on to the fringe area, which is very exciting, and the styling. So now we're on this side of the head. So I'm going to show you what to do. I want you guys to see, but I need to kind of arrange this properly. So if I comb it from the back and pull it in, right? Or if I go like this, I'm taking the front off. So I want to make sure that I have my comb here. I'm pushing what's around the face and the length to the bottom of the comb. I lift it up and I know as long as I don't touch this piece here, I'm protecting the length and what's around the face. So you see, around the face is perfectly long. Again, I split what's left into two based on the density of the hair. This is very visual. You don't need to be absolutely exact with this look. So be patient, feel the hair, feel the density. I think as hairdressers, sometimes we tend to work like robots, but we really need to feel the hair and embrace it and be true artists with how the hair feels, because every density is different, every hair texture is different, so work with it. Again, comb parallel to the head. I'm pushing the length and what's around the face to the back of my comb. I lift it up. This is the weight, and I vibrate my scissors straight up to remove that weight. So again, I don't have a triangle. This is slightly beveling in on the sides, and when she wears her hair curly, it's not going to expand like a Christmas tree. Also, if you held this upside down, because we're taking these areas in the inside, it's kind of like we're cutting a Christmas tree. So again, I'm finding that guideline on the top, and I have a little pizza on the top here. I lift it straight up. That's my guide from before, and I'm just vibrating my scissors straight up to the ceiling and removing that. So now we have a nice, simple look. That look at as I shake it up, it doesn't expand on the sides and the bottom, right? It's not a triangle. I like to work, I ask a client, where does your hair fall naturally? I don't want to force a center part, I don't want to force a side part, because so many women, really sometimes the only time their hair is styled is when we style their hair. So now we're going to move to the fringe, okay? I don't want to cut in very deep and carve out around the face. I'm going to drop you guys down a little bit so you can see it better here, okay? I don't want to carve this out. That's what scares a lot of women when they do this, okay? Also, guys, this is how I get my hair cut. If you're cutting a guy's hair in the salon, this is how, and go aggressive. A lot of men don't want to have this pretty long hair. They want it to be a little bit more shattered and aggressive. So this is how you're going to get that aggression into the hair. Just go a little bit more deep with each section. So I only want to take a bit of hair around each side. I am not going to cut into the rest of it. This is a non-committal curtain fringe that you can almost convince every single client to do. I section everything else out. And they know there's still so much length and heaviness around the face that's going to stay here, right? So I'm going to do, the first thing I'm going to do, I told them I'm still going to keep the length on both of these sections here. I'm going to keep the outside length. This was a previous haircut that was there, so we're going to work with that. So I actually probably want to add a little bit more because of the haircut that's previous there. This is something that would happen in the salon. So I'm actually going to take it to the outside of the eyebrow, because I didn't know that that was there from an old haircut. So now we have a little bit more length to work with on both sides. As we all know, we're always dealing with a previous haircut, which affects what we have to do, okay? Okay, so now on both sides, right? We have this length and this length. I do want them to match up because that was from a previous side fringe. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna hold it down, not a lot of tension, okay? It's very important because if you put tension, it's gonna pop up about 1 centimeter to 1 inch, okay? All right, so I'm gonna do probably from starting around the mouth area down. So I start from the mouth and I notch in a little bit, couple notches in, and then I start to move down and bring the hair towards the middle, which helps me to protect the length, okay? I'm gonna do the exact same thing on the other side. So, not a lot of tension. I follow this guideline. I'm relaxing my fingers. I vibrate in for about 2 notches, and then we start to work our way down and keep it in the middle, okay? You can see from the previous haircut, it's really light here. So, free-handed, I'm gonna remove that. And on this side, I do want it to be balanced in case she wears her hair up. So I'm gonna cut into this a bit. Now we know if she pops these down, she's gonna be okay. but we're gonna fix the balance and the weight right now. So we're gonna, again, work with triangle sections, okay? First thing we're going to do is take this entire triangle. If you see this arrow, right, that's telling me where to go with it to remove the weight. So I'm gonna take this whole section all the way back. I know this is my length, this is the weight that sits on top. So I can remove all of this without affecting where the length is. I grab this entire other triangle. The point is telling me where to take this. So I bring it all the way back. This is my length. This is the weight that sits on top. That was just the first time. Now I'm going to take another triangle, about half of that. Again, I take this over. You see this? That is the length. This is the weight that sits on top. Okay? So now look at, it's still the same length, but it's starting to lighten out on the outside. So what that's gonna do is it's gonna allow the hair to start coming this way. If we have too much weight on the surface, it's gonna push it in towards her head. So again, I come to this side, I split it into two, I bring it all the way over. This is my length, this is the weight. And now we're seeing it's getting quite light. You know, it's easily moved and manipulated away from the face. Finally, I'm gonna grab a tiny triangle. So you see here, I bring this back. This little piece is the length. This is the weight that's sitting on top of it. And I'm point cutting almost straight in, so it has a lot of texture and lightness. I'm taking a tiny triangle on this side, bring it over, across. This is the length. This is the weight that sits on top of it. So now both pieces are just as long. This piece was longer from a previous haircut. So what I want to do here is just match it up a little bit more to that previous section. I bring it over once again and remove that length on the back, and now these both match up. I finally want to take this down, and I want you guys to see what happens here. You see, she has all the heaviness here, but she has this beautiful non-committal fringe that almost blends into the rest of the look without having to do any styling. I want to do one last thing to blend this in. I take a little bit of a longer triangle. This one's going to very much the outside of the eyes. I bring it back, and I'm just softening into that length. So that is just going to create a little bit extra softness on the surface, a bigger triangle, and it's very important to bring this back over. We always know where our length is, and we just cut in and soften that length. So now she's just got this beautiful soft look. There's that little bit of shaggy volume on the outside, and her fringe, just from no product and styling it and just doing a little zhuzh with the fingers, you see how that sits and opens up the cheekbones. So she has a curtain fringe, but it hasn't been this big commitment that she's gonna have a nightmare growing out. Now we're gonna move on to my favorite part, styling of this look. We're first gonna start with two things. We have the Dyson Supersonic Blow Dryer, which is my staple. It's what I use all the time, the best dryer that I've ever had. I want to really reassure you guys that with this look, I've had so many clients that are like, I have no wave in my hair, I have no texture, and I do this look and they start to get 20% more wave. Just by cutting this technique, those shorter pieces all throughout really bring back the look. When someone says the shag is still in style, absolutely, we're still seeing it come back. It's having a resurgence, but I think this is the way to balance people. They have that difference and they can have days where they feel like they have a shag, but they don't always have to have a shag. It still looks soft. It's not kind of bridging on that mullety look. It's really that look for a non-committal woman, okay? So now what we want to do, I love to style mousse and put product in dry hair. I know this is scary because it doesn't blend out because of the moisture. To me, all I do is styling now. I'm a celebrity stylist based in Los Angeles. I work with clients like Mandy Moore, Gigi Hadid, Kristen Stewart, Demi Moore, and various others. And so styling is my thing. I love it so much. I love the artisticness of it. But I love the simple nuances in styling hair. Nothing big and crazy. We rarely get to do that. We know in the salon, it's simple things that we do. So I'm gonna take a spray volume mousse. I spray it all throughout the top of the head, and I massage it in. This is a lighter mousse. So we know it's not gonna get sticky right away, but we do need to dry this in right away. Because a lot of us focus on texture sprays at the end to create the look. I wanna create that texture base and lock it in before I get to the end. And this style and a lot of other styles is on hblive.me, on the Hairbrain website. Myself, Onco Tran, and Paquila did some great fundamental styling videos there for free. So go check them out, and trust me, it's gonna speed up your styling time and really help you all out. So here we go. So now I'm blow drying with my fingers back and forth because I want to kind of get rid of the natural direction of the hair. So she's gonna get volume. So I'm going back and forth. I'm using it on high power, high heat. But the great thing about the Dyson is the directional airflow. So you can see already I'm getting that lift on this side. So I come over here. I'm really going back and forth, really breaking up that product in the hair. Going right down the middle. Okay, so now I'm starting to get that texture in the top, right? But I don't want you guys to always just put product in and be like, well, that's the product I always put in, that's done, okay? So I want you to feel the hair, massage it. To me, this is still too soft. I would then add mousse again, blow dry it in, feel it, and I might do it again. I often will mousse 2 to 3 times before I'm satisfied with the base texture. But don't overdo it with mousse. You keep adding a small amount at a time. It's like when you're seasoning to cook something beautiful. I know a lot of hairdressers love to cook. You don't throw a bunch of salt in. You add a little bit more, you taste it. A little bit more, you taste it. That's what you want to do with the texture on the head. The next thing I'm gonna do, only for time, because I would blow dry mousse into this about 3 or 4 more times, and here is a volumizing spray. So I'm spraying it to the links and ends because I want to get also a grit into there. I want my texturizing spray to be a quick spritz on the end. I don't want it to be anything else. Someone said, do you prefer a Dyson over a regular blow dryer, and why? So I gotta tell you a story. I've been with Dyson since the creation of the Dyson Supersonic. And I was always a high power blow dryer. Some people like something that gets really hot. I wanted something that's high power. So I had no idea. A vacuum company getting the blow dry space, how's this gonna work? I don't understand what's gonna happen. So I put it in my contract that if it isn't the best blow dryer I've ever worked with, I can cancel my contract with them at any time. 6 years later, I'm still here using this Dyson Supersonic. Trust me, it's not cheap. It's worth every single penny. And the great thing is too, is if there's ever something that goes wrong with it, the 1-800 number, Dyson will always take care of you. We all know some things break from time to time. Maybe we don't treat them that well, but Dyson will always help you out. So trust me, it's a big investment, but it's an investment that's worth it. I've cut down my blow drying time by 50%. So now I'm just gonna quickly dry this in, okay? I wanna make sure that I'm feeling that grit. I'm just using my hands. I don't wanna smooth this hair out too much. So now I'm feeling it. I'm feeling, does this have the right texture for me to create a look that's gonna last? No, I don't think this has the texture I want yet. So what I'm gonna do to start is I'm going to turn on my Dyson Corel. If you see, it's cordless, but I have this little stand. The plug plugs into there, and I pop it onto here, and it charges. I always suggest charging it in between each section, okay? So, and I notice for me, if I use the flat iron properly, it lasts me for about 45 minutes. I know it says 35, but if you use it properly, it'll work. So I'm gonna get this dry again. My final step just to make sure that it's dry, is I use my paddle brush mainly on the ends, just to give a little bit of smoothness and to make sure that that product is baked into the hair properly. The great thing about using a brush with a supersonic is I want to show you guys something. There's a microbead thermistor right in the end. So this is popping it out at 40 times a second. It's measuring the heat propulsion so that it doesn't burn the hair. So on another blow dryer, when you put the nozzle against the brush, this zone in here goes to such extreme heats that it's going to burn your client's hair. The Dyson Supersonic is smart, so it'll cut back on that heat so it never goes past the burning temperature of hair, and that's what's genius. We really keep that clean. A lot of people, actually there's a new filter on the Supersonic that you only have to clean your filter every couple months, but we all know we have to clean our filter in any blow dryer. I don't know how many times when I owned a salon that my stylist would come up and be like, my blow dryer's broken. And I look, I clean the filter. We got to clean our tools, just like we have to clean our brushes every single client. We always got to make sure that we're cleaning our filters of any blow dryer, especially the Dyson Supersonic. This isn't your Toyota Camry, this is your Ferrari of blow dryers. So you don't put basic gas into a car that's not a supercar. If you have a supercar, you got to put premium gas. So you got to take a little bit more care of the great tools that you use. Now I'm going to section the hair from the top, just like the haircut. Top of the head to behind the ear, and I pop a clip in there. I'm going to section from the top of the head to behind the ear, and you pop a clip into there. Now I'm going to start working on the back. This is going to be very simple styling, but there's a few things that I want you to think about, and I want you to watch what I'm doing. First of all, I want to show you guys something. So, this is flexing plates. So you see this is a clip, watch. It flexes over top of that. All flat irons have floating plates, but only the Supersonic has flexing plates. So what that does is it wraps around the hair section, first of all, so the hair doesn't fall out of the bottom. It doesn't fall up into here. It stays in and we don't have to use the same pressure. That's why I hated styling with flat irons before, because we had to put such pressure to keep the hair in there and to spread out the hair that your hand starts to jerk out of it and you don't get the right styling. So I'm going to take small sections. Time out your styling when you're doing it. Don't just go and do it. You want to think about it. So watch. I grab it at the roots. 1, 2, 3, 180, 1, 2, 3. Okay? It's very quick. But I have 3 seconds fast, so I create a good bend at the root, and then I push it through really quickly at the bottom. So I always time out in my head. So we got a 1, 2, 3, 180, and 1, 2, 3. Okay? So now we're really focusing on that bend in the middle, not on the ends. Grabbing another section. Opposite directions every time. 1, 2, 3, quickly through those ends. I want to show you a little eraser trick when I get to the top. So, if you did a section, I actually do this as a styling technique too. This curling technique should take you no more than 5 minutes in the salon. So, if I do this I'm going to curl this too much, okay? So, I'm curling 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. It's going to be too curled. But what I do is, while it's warm, I use my hands as an eraser. So I'm pulling it down, and that creates a softer texture. I sometimes like to do this generally so that I create a much more effortless texture. So I always, you see I do a pass with my hands at the end. When I'm wanting it to look really cool girl and not overly waved, I want to keep it on the same timing for smoothness, but I pull it out so that it's stretched out a little bit and not as curly. Because, you know, curls have kind of had a moment when they're out, and I think still when there's an effortless curl like this, we don't want too much curl. But luckily for hairdressers that really like to style hair, big, bouncy, beautiful blowouts are coming back. And curled ends are coming back. So there's lots of great techniques, and you can do all of them with the corral. And you see, it stays in the plates because it's the corral, and it corrals that curl in the middle. So I'm doing about 4 sections on each section that I do, quickly through those ends. I don't want straight ends. I want a movement on the ends, but not straight. When we have straight ends, the look will look like you've diminished volume. So you see I do a quick 180 and I push it through those ends. Now I'm getting to the last 2 sections. And feel free, guys, if you have any questions, I'm watching this chat, so please feel free to ask any questions. So coming in here, the corral, I was saying the supersonic measures the heat propulsion at 40 times a second. Because we're dealing with a flat iron, this is measuring it at 100 times a second. So with that being said, if you don't use this flat iron properly, you're going to waste the battery quicker because it's so smart, it's thinking the entire time. So as I'm working this, if I pinch this too hard, because it's measuring the heat propulsion at 100 times a second, if I'm pushing it too hard, it knows I'm not doing a good job and I'm pushing it too hard. So then what's happening is it's cooling itself down. So then when I open it and I bring it back up, it's heating itself up. So if you're putting too much tension, it's going to heat and reheat and heat and lose heat. And so that this battery is being drained from you not doing necessarily what you should be doing. Someone asked if they can see it a little bit closer. So on this top section, I will do that for you. So let's bring it a little bit closer here. So also when you're doing different textures, like say you're bending it back and forth like this, the flexing plates make it way less likely you're going to create a dent, like a mark or any sort of thing in there. So you're going to be a lot more trustworthy of your look at the end. So you see I bend, I do a 180, 1, 2, 3, and then 1, 2, 3. So I almost double my timing from the mid shaft to the ends. And the more you count your timing, the more you're going to have a uniformed wave. But every curl, I'm going back and forth. So 1, 2, 3, look at it, stays in the plates. 1, 2, 3, quickly on those ends. So I gotta grab this last section here, and I do opposite directions every time. See, 1, 2, 3, and it stays in the plates at the bottom. Because it's corralling the hair, this is the Dyson Corral flat iron. So it is actually cordless, so you don't have to worry about that. Okay, so now we're getting to the sides. But what I'm gonna do, guys, is I'm leaving this section, and I'm going to put a clip in it, and I'm going to leave this section till the very end. These, as we know with color, is called the money piece. So we really need to make sure that you could mess up all the curling on this entire head, but if you nail these 2 front pieces, you've nailed the look, okay? So I am going to, someone said, can they recap the haircut? This is going to be posted onto the feed after, so you can absolutely rewatch it as many times as you want, and so that you can get it. And I do suggest with this haircut, everyone, do it on the client this week, because if you don't, it's going to leave your head. You're not going to remember this haircut, so I really suggest to do it. All right, so, and here we go. Someone says, should we curl a few inches away from the scalp? I'm realizing I start curling way too close. No, that depends on every single look. A curl is not just a curl. There's thousands of ways to curl the hair with different tools, different shapes, different bends, different angles. So we need to always keep that in mind. First curl, I actually want to do away from the face, just in case we want to tuck this behind the ear for a style after. So I come in, I pull it back away from the face and start to bend it in a 180, and then I start to move it much quicker as I get through those ends. So you see I have the good bend there and a little bit straighter on the ends. It's straighter, not straight on the ends. That's very important. Now with this piece, I'm going to do 2 curls. This one, I'm going to go towards the face. So I bend at the root quickly in my 180, and as I go down, I start working much quicker as I start to go down, okay? Now we have this piece. I want to go away from the face because it's going to open up the cheekbone. So come away from the face, I bend it, and I move it quicker throughout the ends, okay? There we go. On the top, I want to show a lot of texture on the top. So I need to plan this out. This piece is going to be going away from the face. So I'm going to take a little section here. This is going to go towards the face, but I need it to be a very small section. So watch, I come quickly and then down. I don't want to create a big bend on this one because it's going to be obvious there. Now, because I did that one forward, this is going to be a much bigger section coming away from the face. But this is what's important. I need to plan where this one is. This bend is going to be at her eye. So this bend I'm going to do, when I want a bend to be at the eye, I actually will do the bend an inch above it because it drops once it's finished. So that means here, I'm going to do the bend at the eye so it drops to the cheekbone, okay? So I come in from the top. This section is flat. I start coming down. I see the eye. Now I start to bend out on a 45 and I push it down through the ends. So you see, now that curl is right at her eye. This section, I'm going to go towards. Underneath, I go tight at the root, so it creates volume and texture. But this top, I need that first one to be subtle, so I move a little quicker through the entire thing. I don't want this to be a big bubble right here, right? We're gonna move and quickly finish the other side. Remember, we're leaving those money pieces to the end. I grab the temple. Guys, for styling tips like this and from other people like Oncotran and Pakila from Dyson, go to hblive.me and there's essential styling lessons that we filmed with Dyson a while ago. So many essential styling lessons that you can do in the salon. So because I want this to come back, which also creates volume at the sides, I grab this piece and I start pulling it backwards. I twist it, count 1, 2, 3, and then 1, 2, 3 through the ends. Bring it straight down. I want a curl and a movement, not a tight curl, okay? Now, I separate the rest into two. The first one in the back, I go again towards the face, a slow turn and a quick push out on the ends. Now this piece in the front here, where is that? That's there. Okay, so I come in from the top, back, slow, and I move quicker through the ends. And we're doing the exact same thing from the other side. Remember, I grab this small piece here, and this one's gonna go towards the face, but we're not creating a strong bend. I'm just moving very quickly through that. I don't want a bubble. The last piece goes away from the face. And remember, where you want the bend to be, bend it an inch above that spot. I want this bend to hit and pop the cheekbone, so I'm gonna bend it at the eye. So you see I come flat in, the section's sitting flat to the head, so that I know this bend is gonna be like this, right? That's very important in where you position around the face. I come in and I don't have to pinch hard because it is flexing plates. So I come down and I bend it at the eye, I do my 180, and then I pull it through the ends. I did it in an opposite direction there so that you guys can see it more. Normally I would like to come in, but I'd block it. And then this final section at the back, I go towards the face, but I don't want to create a bubble, so I move much quicker on this one, and I don't focus on the root as much. Throughout the look, I will focus on the root. Okay, we're almost done. I'm gonna take these two clips out because I left the money pieces to the end. But let me find my comb. This is the only time I will use a comb. Okay, here we go. So that piece is on this side, this piece is on this side. I wanna make sure that this piece is nice and controlled. We know we could mess up every curl in the whole back of the head, and if we nail this curl, the whole looks good, okay? Or you could curl every curl perfect and mess up this one, and it ruins the look. I want this bend to be right above the eye. So I need to make my bend pretty high up because the rule of thumb is everything drops about an inch once we let it go. So I'm gonna make sure everything's nice and clean in this section. It's coming flat down, it's combed well. I'm going to put my flat iron in and I'm going to bring it straight down and I start to really bend it, but I don't bend it like this. I bend it away from the face and move my iron to a 45-degree angle, okay? So you see I come in like this, I bring it down, 45-degree angle, bring it out, start to do the movement, and then I quickly start to bring it through the ends, okay? You see how it has that nice pop out now? I need to do the exact same thing on the other side. It's very important. Normally I wouldn't be talking through this whole thing because I'm actually concentrating way more, but I'm trying to show you guys what's happening here, okay? So I will be here. I'm gonna come down slowly and then I start bending it away from the face, go slowly and push it down. There, I think I got it. So now we have this bend that's there. I'm gonna pop this back on the charger so it can keep charging. First, I'm gonna grab my Dyson wide tooth comb and I brush everything out, okay? I need to create a little bit more texture and movement before I use a texturizing spray, okay? So, what I do is I'm gonna grab a little bit of paste. I like using about that much paste. Then I'm going to grab a teardrop, oh, it's locked, a teardrop of oil. See, tiny little bit of oil. Mix these in my hands together. I want to warm my hands. I'm gonna go really fast. Get it all over my hands like hand cream. I don't want any clumps. And I start working from the bottom. Little bit on the front. Once I've achieved it on the bottom, I start to shake up my look. You see, I'm starting to move it. I can now put a little bit of texture so it's gonna stay where I need it to. Okay. Now, finally, I can add some texture spray. Just gonna grab that. I like to spray from underneath so I really get it in and it starts to open up the hair and give it shape. I do want this fringe piece to be really nice. So I'm gonna comb it and I lift it. So you see I put my fingers in this spot and I grab my hairspray, I lift it and I spray it underneath. I lift it and I spray it underneath. Come over to this side, I lift it and I spray it underneath. I don't want to spray on the top and get it crunchy. If I want to make this really last for a long time, I need to do one last step. I grab my Dyson Diffuser. I put it on low power, okay? So again, I spray underneath and I hold it and I dry the hairspray in. See how it just lifted that up a little bit too? So now I spray this underneath, lift it with my finger, and dry this into place. And now we can see we have this beautiful haircut. And look at, it's wide and full on the bottoms, but it's not sitting like a triangle. So we removed the right amount of texture, but we kept the fullness. No one wants stringy little ends. So we wanted to make sure we have this fullness. Plus also we can really zhuzh up this root area and she's got that lightness. But I want to show you guys, you don't see any visible layers. All you know is that there's lift and she's got this perfect, beautiful curtain fringe. That's non-committal. If we brush this out, it almost disappears and blends into the entire haircut.